The cameras were supposed to cut, but they didn't. While the audience screamed and clapped, Jim Jones sat still. When Chrissy revealed her secret wedding on live television, the media went crazy. No one knew what he was thinking. It was hard to tell if he was confused, injured, or about to explode. However, what transpired backstage after the credits rolled wasn't intended to be observed. Because while producers desperately attempted to calm Chrissy, Jim Jones went directly to her dressing room. Things down, a concealed camera that was still rolling caught the unvarnished events that followed. Behind the curtain, charges, shouting, tears, and a reality neither of them had expected. This was more than just reality TV. After decades of development, friendship was coming to an end in real time. How about the internet? I was watching everything in real time without any filters, and messy. Some shouting, a few walk-offs, and a sprinkle of social media were all part of the planned reunion spectacular. Hostility, but genuine lives, true love. The final 5 minutes of Harlem Edition turned into something that no one could have anticipated. Chrissy didn't only show there looking sexy and arrogant. She came with a mystery. When she told the set that she was married, you could feel the vibe in the studio vanishing. I did what had to be done, but I did it in secret. For the first time in my life, I didn't wait. I did not ask myself. I'm married. Startles. Nor from the host, nor only from the crowd. Not by the performers who invested the entire show recovering from a small incident. Jim Jones's silence produced the most notable gasp. He wore sunglasses, stayed still, didn't blink, and didn't react. The diamond chains are still being caught by the stage lights. But that silence was more powerful than any curse he could use, utilized as a reaction. As the broadcast ends, Jim stays still. The wrap-up was released by producers. Moment as the reunion presenter hurriedly attempted to roll the titles and restore control. The entertainer began to go. As the crowd applauded and the lights went down, they headed into the rear corridor to prepare for their departure interviews. But Jim Jones remains in that chair. One of the boom mic operators later said that it appeared as though he had been hit by a bus made out of all the what-ifs he had ever avoided. He didn't even react with anger. Just shock. That deep hush when your heart is unsure of what to do. He sat as if trying to keep himself together. There, both hands on the armrests of the velvet reunion chairs. His microphone was still in place, and everything he said was hardly audible above the crew chatter. Heated thought, wow, really? Then he abruptly arose slowly with a purpose and didn't even go to the changing facilities or the green room to exit. He immediately went to backstage, Chrissy's personal trailer. It's the one that was hidden from view by the main cameras and that she had kept closed since they arrived. At that point, the script actually went awry. A self-employed backstage photographer called after being hired to capture behind-the-scenes video for social media. Reggie kept recording when the main he did, and the camera feed went black. Thank God for what he managed to capture. Was a total conflagration. Unaware of what he was going into, Jim hurried past security and used one hand to pry open Chrissy's dressing room door as Reggie kept filming. Avoid knocking. Not a caution. You're just going to toss something at me like that then? Chrissy spun around on TV in real time, one heel still off, the cosmetics artist frozen in mid-touch. She let her tiny mirror fall to the floor as her jaw tensed. Jim, you were aware that we were completed. You knew that? Indeed. Are you married, though? After you were married to this guy, you didn't even text me. You didn't think I was deserving of that's the least. After avoiding coups and ignoring me for 6 months, you now want to talk to me. Therapy. And then suddenly, it became true when my mother died and you failed to appear. You could hear the breaths of every single person in that corridor halt. The clipboard within the production assistant's hand, while one of the background stylists tried to record, Reggie, frozen, backed off just enough to maintain the audio clarity. Closed the door. The covert camera is rolling. Nobody knew that Chrissy had left the microphone in the dressing room running. It wasn't the norm. It was a total accident, yet the audio was crystal clear. When that footage was revealed 2 hours later, received a lot of Twitter shares. T shared a video with C that had the following caption. After she granted him 20 years, this man remained silent. Now he made her select herself. The video became viral. Supporters were divided. Some felt betrayed, hurt, and taken off guard. Most of them were Chrissy's squad, but they were Team Jim, because under all that stress, her voice broke with pain. I desired more. Additionally, you were aware of my exhaustion. I waited for you for 4 years. You promised me a wedding, a life, and a family. I simply had promise. I'm loyal to you, Jim shot back. You put me in limbo, no. Twitter blows up. Jim Jones and Chrissy were the top 2. Songs throughout the nation in a matter of minutes. The Shade Room posted the video. The altercation was discussed live on Hollywood Unlocked. Mama Jones even added to the chaos by posting a picture of herself and Chrissy from 2012 with the words, "like that dot," in the caption. Dot poof vanished. The comments were astute. Despite having no rings for 20 years, Jim thought that time was love. Chrissy said, "I do," to someone who did. Chrissy was unable to get a date with that man. However, he offered us a taste of the classics. Meanwhile, fans began taking receipts off. In earlier love and hip-hop programs and interviews, Chrissy knelt down for the 2011 proposal. Every time she waited, she was caught on camera and posted online. And she stopped now, awaiting Jim retreats to his caravan. According to a factory worker, Jim walked, leaving Chrissy's room without uttering another word. He made no noise, didn't holler, and didn't try to interact. In battle. He just walked quietly to his trailer, sat down, and closed the door. A makeup artist brought him a towel and said he didn't even speak. He just stared at the earth. He removed each of his chains one at a time and laid them gently on the vanity counter. No one has ever seen Jim without them since the start of the movie. At 10:48 p.m., he finally broke the stillness. By sending an SMS to his first-day friend, Freaky Zeke. She was sincere. I thought she was playing a bluff. Chrissy's phone was buzzing all the time. In the meanwhile, Chrissy's phone was inundated with texts and direct messages from cast members, bloggers, and acquaintances she hadn't spoken to in years. But one message resonated differently. Her new husband, whose identity the world knows, was the source. Was still not sure who had sent the subsequent communication. You have my admiration. Let's they talk. Chrissy didn't want to be in the news. She was aware of what would occur when, with her wedding ring hidden under a brand and her heart strengthened by 2 decades of history, she went into that reunion recording. Fresh manicure. She did not wish to bring Jim into disrepute. She wasn't interested in revenge. She did, however, have one wish, peace. And to acquire it, she needed to give up on the idea of Jim Jones. For almost a decade, she had been afraid to do this. The ring that created the difference was that it wasn't a grandiose concept. No helicopters, no rose petals, only a beach, a handwritten note, and a man who desired to create with Chrissy instead of a diamond embroidered with rap lyrics rather than attempt to fix her. What is that man's name? Marcus Bellamy. Indeed, the renowned architect who created homes for hip-hop's elite in late 2022. They met at an interior design gala. Chrissy was there to assist a friend. Marcus was the main speaker. The two happened to be seated next to one another during dinner. That night, she didn't even apply cosmetics. He complimented her confidence rather than her curves. She was devastated when he asked her what she did for herself, rather than what she did for Jim. She later confessed to a close companion. That question has never been posed to me without referring to someone else. Their start was not good. No paparazzi, coffee dates, meetings at bookshops, and leisurely walks around Central Park. Don't boast. Appropriate. Furthermore, Chrissy felt more like a genuine person than for the first time in years. It's more than a placeholder. Years of time. After 11 months, he offered a suggestion that was not caught on camera. Not for display, not in the club. Just her preferred wine. A private dinner. Additionally, a quiet message that said, "You don't have to prove anything," was folded on her plate. All I want is for you two to be liked in public? Then a little non-viral ring that reads "No more waiting" is inscribed in small characters on a... When she saw the golden bracelet, she knew she would never go back. Reasons for things start to get challenging when you're waiting for the concert. Chrissy knew she couldn't just leave the world she had helped create. She and Jim were more than just a couple. They were a brand. Before the word was created, these were hip-hop relationship goals. Years of love and hip-hop, collaborative appearances, sponsorship agreements, fan pages, and tabloid features. She also adored him. At one point, though, she would have taken a bullet for that man to get her therapy. And every time she tried to go forward, Jim would repeatedly leave her with the same excuse. You know who I am, and she did too. What did she not know? How much would she have to pay? She squandered time, confidence, and perhaps a child. Chrissy did miscarry in 2015, but the public was not aware of it. Jim did hold her hand in the ER, but she later claimed he was physically there. But emotionally, he abandoned me in that hospital. So she convinced herself that meeting Marcus was too soon and that she couldn't start again. That maybe she wasn't deserving of a man who wanted her immediately. But then she looked at the calendar and saw that there were still 6 months left till her, I'm still waiting on the same ring that I begged for at 30. So I'm not going to be 50, she told herself as she approached her 50th birthday. The unexpected production leak reveals that Jim was not informed of Chrissy's wedding prior to Real Love's creators. Indeed, Real Lives were. Towards the conclusion of the reunion, Chrissy reportedly asked for a time to talk freely. Lied about her relationship status in her contract revision, which she submitted weeks before to the start of filming. She only wanted to get her tail back, not Jim's answer was captured on tape. But the filmmakers thought it smelled like contagious gold. The performance was rescheduled, and she kept Jim in the dark by sneaking her revelation into the final 5 minutes. They wanted the event to feel authentic, so they didn't warn the actors or even brief the host. Chrissy was infuriated upon seeing what they were handed, which was caught in 4K as absolute heartbreak. She had cautioned them not to exploit Jim's reaction, seeing how they had set him up. However, the network owned the footage after it was taken. She knew when the video leaked. Jim's tight circle emphasizes that there was no turning back. One of Jim's closest lads, who wanted to stay, is quoted in an urban podcast. Jim, who remained anonymous during the reunion, had reportedly already selected a ring and spoken with Mama Jones, who this time was pleasantly supportive. He had also hidden the ring in his baggage so he could take it off during their last encounter. The plan, the last try, the last chance attempt. The catch is that he was never given the chance, since before he could respond, Chrissy blew it. I'm already married. Supporters were divided. Chrissy should have warned him, according to some, but let's pretend she has forewarned him for 2 decades. The peace she never thought possible. The day after the reunion, Chrissy turned off her phone and got on an upstate train. Not glamorous, no entourage. She and Marcus remained at a little cottage on the lake by themselves, eating home-cooked meals. They laughed when I played jazz without looking over their shoulders, someone said. She cried once out of relief and once out of shame since Chrissy still had to face the reality that despite the public acclaim, she had destroyed a man who had once showed her intense affection but was unsure of how to communicate it, and admiration from fans. But she also knew this. I was going to Jim, rumored to be unfinished, is preparing something in the meantime if I didn't go. Sources claim that he has been working on a new solo song, but some fans believe it already sounds like a Chrissy diss. Track. I should have recognized the header. What about the lyrics? She gave me violence, is one of the brutal sentences from a leaked excerpt. She was patient and took my devotion and transformed it into quiet. There's no doubt about that. Whether it's bars, Jim Jones disappeared from the public spotlight in the days following Chrissy's wedding. Jim is in agony, whether it's heartbreak or both, and Chrissy doesn't turn around either. Announcement. There won't be any interviews, Instagram live streams, or subtweets. Fans were used to seeing Jim soar because he was the hothead of Harlem and the voice of unapologetic emotion. But this time, as the pressure increased, Jim became silent, which alarmed people because it wasn't a sign of peace. Jim then dropped a surprise freestyle on SoundCloud with the title, Just When I Should Have Known About the Internet-Breaking Song. I should have recognized the rhythm frightening. Everyone assumed he was going to stay down forever. You flew into his life and I was too late to draw the line, so the words are straight daggers. You wore white, but I wore shame. I gave you my time, space, and affection for 20 years. You left and I took the fall. When the internet went down, TikTok creators started making harsh comments about a fan stitched a video of Chrissy's wedding reveal and captioned it with the song. He lost more than just a lover. He lost his heritage. But what made everyone clutch their pearls? The final words I said to her were, "You are still my forever." Oh no, even if you simply come to see me in my dreams. Oh no, nobody was supposed to hear the backstage chatter. Remember the secret camera Reggie was carrying backstage? It turns out that Jim had already left the building. One more moment was captured that night, and he paused long enough to talk to Chrissy's closest friend. Kendra was waiting with her bag, and his shackles were down as he waited outside the departure door. Tell her that this is not how I ever intended it to end, and take his glasses off and put them back on. Let her know that I've always been scared and that she outgrew me. And so he did. Then he went out into the night. The video never came on. But she gave it out on purpose, Kendra, and people had to see it was more than ego. That man loved her. He just didn't realize how important it was to love oneself first. What were the fans not aware of? The promises we didn't hear. Chrissy was already married 2 months before the reunion taped, but it wasn't shown on camera. 30 individuals, no press, a Spanish courtyard outside, and a sunset that seemed to have been, what about Chrissy's vows? They were poetic and personal, hand-painted by God. But one particular passage resonated with a different audience and was unintentionally posted on a close friend's Instagram account. To the guy who saw me before anybody else did, I am grateful that you taught me what love isn't, showed me how to make better requests, and now I understand. Wow. A few were irate. Chrissy was considered offensive. Proclamations shouldn't be taken personally. Others, however, said it was poetry masquerading as closure, and that Jim was still in her spirit. Mama Jones shares her facts in a chapter that is terrible and ends with power. When the internet thought things couldn't get much dirtier, Mama Jones stepped in and posted a video that showed the iconic drama with the tagline, "I'll only say this once," shows her sipping a glass of white wine on her kitchen counter. I love Chrissy, always had will always. But you can't do that kind of thing on television and anticipate a particular reaction from viewers. I'm glad she was able to find happiness. But don't act like my son isn't standing up for her. Have you waited? Indeed, you guessed it, sweetheart. He lived through you too. Fans had differing opinions in the comments. She should inform her mother, several said. Others, you mentioned him. Place the blame on the male rather than the lady. Among the Jim sobbed again as the finest remarks read. Chrissy was silent while she waited. They both lost, but only one made it back. Whoa! What is Jim going to do next? While Chrissy and Marcus were in Italy on their honeymoon, Jim came back to the studio. But according to insiders, it wasn't for the tunes. This was for medical care. Indeed, there are rumors that Jim has quietly enrolled in an exclusive men's mental healing retreat in upstate New York, where he will not be influenced by media or phones. He's not trying to go back, according to those who know him. He's trying to fix the man before he's back in the limelight. In all honesty, Jim would have gone to the strip club 10 years ago, issued a disc tape, and dated a random individual just to be fashionable. Was Jim able to bear the pain? Chrissy as well. She is calm. Images surfaced of Marcus and Chrissy dining at a restaurant by the water. No glitz, no paparazzi. With her head resting on his shoulder, she gave him a kind grin. It was impossible for her fans not to feel happy for her, because in the end, she decided to go with herself not to garner publicity for clapbacks, but after years of begging, praying, and suffering. Not for the culture, however, for the sake of harmony. I didn't leave him to hurt him, she later confessed to a friend. I left him to save myself, the internet replies. Numerous, Chrissy gave Jim every chance to appear. He remains silent, is one of the fan tweets that went viral. She bid farewell. Unchanging love leads to emotional debt. She made a profit. Jim Jones learns that devotion and effort are not synonymous. Batman viewed his queen as an assistant dancer. She wasn't waiting for a wedding. She was wanting to be valued. The final scene. Let's imagine the final divided screen for this narrative. Jim Jones is shown on the left, sitting in a dimly lit studio, staring at an old photo of Chrissy while wearing no headphones and crying. The afternoon sun is shining on Chrissy's new boyfriend as they walk hand in hand along a cobblestone street on the right. Ring. She doesn't look back. She doesn't have to. She had spoken what she needed to say. Family, that's it. When the public shouldn't have seen it, the story of lost love, squandered time, and finding healing was documented on video. There was more to this decade of love, silence, and missed